I do believe what I'm about to share with you is gonna be groundbreaking, especially if you're new to mixing. Oh my goodness, this is the system that I wish someone had showed me inside of Logic when I was starting to make my own songs. Because when I started mixing, I started to go down every single track. Let me zoom out for a second. Look at everything that we have here, okay? And you gotta remember, these down here, these are stack tracks. So there's tracks inside of the tracks, right? So we have all of these different tracks here, all the way down, 25 different tracks. I would go into each one individually and mix it. Whatever I thought that meant at the time, right? And the reality is you don't have to do that. The things that we're gonna do today are super simple, and the first step that we're gonna do is just condense things. That's my biggest tip. We are going to condense all of our stuff, all right? I like to break apart a song into 3 different sections, and Logic Pro has this feature called stack tracks, which complement this kind of workflow super well. I want you to think about drums, I want you to think about music, and I want you to think about vocals. Just those 3, drums, music, vocals. Every single track that we have in our project, that you have on your project, I want you to assign it to just one of those 3. It can't go anywhere else. It's gotta go to one of those 3. Okay, is this a vocal track? Goes to vocals. Is this a music track? Goes to music. Is this a drum track? Goes to drums. The only caveat there, any bass stuff, an 808 or a bass or a sub bass or something, all that I group together in drums. Those all get routed together, all right? That's like our foundation. So let me show you how this breaks down. Let's start with our vocals really quick. This is a vocal track. This is a vocal track. Here, here, here. While you were away, I recorded some background vocals, like I hope you did too. Okay, these are all of my vocal tracks. I'm gonna right click on any one of these, it's fine, as long as they're all selected. And I'm gonna go down here, create track stack. Check out what happens. We're gonna take all these individual tracks and it's gonna go to one summing track. Boom. Okay, right here. This is our track, summing track right here. If I click this arrow, they all just went away, right? They all got condensed into this one track right here. All right, so let's go ahead and name that. So we're gonna call this vocals. All right, that's done. Let's close that up. Let's move on to music. Guitar, that's gonna be music. Piano, yep. Synth pad, yep. Another synth, cool. That cool violin, like whistle thing that we had, awesome. Another synth, drum loop, nope, that's drums. Everything else is drums. So this is our music. Right click, create track stack, summing stack. There's all of our music. So let's name that music. Okay, so now all of these tracks are all routing to the singular music channel strip. Okay, just like all in the vocal section, all of these vocals are all going to one channel strip. So now check this out when I condense the music now too. Oh my goodness. All we're left with is drums. So let's do the drums, okay? So we're right here, got our loop, got our filter, verse drums, chorus drums, and our 808. That's our bass. That's all gonna go to a summing stack here, AKA track stack. And we're gonna call this, you guessed it, drums. Booyah. Now check this out, it's my favorite part. That's it. This is all we're dealing with, folks. This is all we're dealing with, okay? Now instead of having to worry about, oh my goodness, okay, all these different things, Logic lets you just condense, simplify. No. Instead of worrying about everything, just worry about the vocals. Then just worry about the music. Then just worry about the drums. This is such a game changer, man. I'm telling you what, if you can like start this simple and just think about affecting the drums as a whole, affecting the music as a whole, and affecting the vocals as a whole, you're gonna be off to such a good start to cranking out more songs inside of Logic, because it's gonna be so much easier for you to pace through instead of getting bogged down in individual tracks for way too long, okay? So as we dive in here, I wanna give you a gift right off the bat. If you're making songs in Logic Pro X, I know this is gonna help you. It's my free mini course called Logic Pro X Songwriter Jumpstart. This mini course will help you set up a new workflow inside Logic Pro X tailored to you and the kind of music that you make so you can streamline your songwriting and make it super easy to capture song ideas. You're gonna set up a system for yourself that you can reuse over and over and over again so you stop getting bogged down with the software when a song idea hits you. This mini course, again, is free. It's under 20 minutes, and it's the perfect complement to what we're gonna be going through today. So take a second, link is in the description, and get your hands on that free training and set up your own custom workflow inside of Logic. We've got everything separated. Now, the number one thing that we can do before even adding any plugins, and I'm gonna show you some stuff to add, don't worry, is volume. Volume. I think we forget this. Like, we forget how simple the first step to mixing is. It's not throwing a whole bunch of plugins on and just hoping something sticks. The first thing to do is just worry about volume and panning. That's it. What are the levels between the instruments and sounds that are going on? What do we prioritize? We use panning. How do we make space for what we want to prioritize? Okay? That's all we're gonna do first. So guess what? I'm just gonna focus on drums. I like to start with drums. So now I can just solo. These are my drums, right? And I wanna make sure that I use my highlight, right, my looper, to loop a section where the most is going on. So I'm gonna go right here to the second chorus, and I've just got my drums playing. Okay, we're just worrying about drums. Listen to just the drums, and we're worrying about volume, okay? If we wanna open this up, we can, because this is all we're focusing on, all right? How does everything sit? Okay, cool. We've got our drums leveled out, volume-wise, right? Now, we're gonna go over to our music. Okay, turn on our music, and we wanna do it in conjunction with our drums, but first we're just gonna listen to the music. How's the music sounding? Nice, okay. So now that we've gone inside the drums, leveled out the drums, closed it up. Gone inside the music, leveled out the music, close it up. And don't sit here for too long, man. I can't tell you enough. Like, your gut reaction is what you should chase, right? There's some best practices for sure, but I guarantee you, you love listening to music. You've got your favorite songs that you already play in the car all the time or listen to while you're working out or something. You already been making music. You have a good ear. You have a good taste. Your taste in your ear is what got you into this in the first place. Why'd you buy Logic Pro X? Because you've got it. You've already got it inside of you. So trust that instinct. Trust how all of your favorite music throughout your whole life has shaped you, and just feel it. Feel it out, all right? That's like the most creative thing I'm gonna say. Just feel it, man. Just really feel it. But really feel it. Like, this is the time to do it. Okay, we got our music set. Now that we've done our drums and our music, we gotta put them both together, all right? So we're gonna solo. Well, they're already soloed because the vocals are turned off, but we're gonna listen to these both together, and then guess what? I'm only worrying about 2 volume knobs, friend. This one and this one. I'm not getting bogged down, right? We already did that. So how did these two sound together? Honestly, like, sounds good. Maybe I'll turn the drums a little bit. Okay, and now I'm hearing that 808's a little loud. I'm gonna turn that a bit. Nice, okay? We just balanced both of those together, and you can hear, now that we added the music, I'm hearing some other stuff, and I'm just adjusting, right? And it's so easy because I'm opening, closing, okay? We got our vocals to add now. So now the vocals will take just a little bit longer because you can't just hone in on one section, and arguably you're gonna have to adjust some things in the music throughout maybe a verse or something if something just sticks out, but you shouldn't have to do too much. You shouldn't have to do too much because we already did our arrangement and we've already got most of the music and most of the drums just locked into a certain volume range. So you shouldn't have to adjust too much. We're just gonna listen to our vocals. Captive evermore. You've taken me captive. Oh. Cool, right? I mean, that's really sounding pretty good. There's not a lot going on there, right? We've got that lead, that morph effect, and then I did a couple backgrounds in there. But let's adjust now our vocals with our music and with our drums. We're turning everything back on, focused on this one part with our looper. Now we're just worrying about 3 knobs, right? We're worrying about vocal volume, music volume, drum volume. Volume's all we're worrying about right now. Taking me honestly, that's really not sounding too bad to me. We want vocals to be up front. If you got a vocal in your song, you want that to really stick out. Okay, so this is already sounding good, right? Like this is already sounding good. Now, I'm gonna show you a couple things you can do if you're separating your songs into these categories to sweeten things up a bit, because you gotta remember, like just like we had presets for some stuff, right? We had presets for a vocal, right? We had all this stuff going on. You can have some stuff going on the track that's responsible for all the tracks, right? Does that make sense? Because they're all funneling to one track. We can add some magic sauce over there and it's gonna sprinkle down into all the other tracks under it. So we're gonna start back down with drums. We know our volume is sitting good. So I'm clicking on the drum track now and you'll see it's empty over here, right? But there's a few things we can add. I'm gonna show you a couple things you can do. The first thing that I wanna do is go down to EQ, and I wanna go to the vintage EQ collection, all right? I'm gonna try to show you a couple cool things you can do for each of these channel strips to give a little bit of magic without going too crazy, all right? The first thing I'm gonna do is go to this vintage EQ collection. This is so awesome. They've got a tube EQ, graphic EQ, console EQ. They're all modeled off of some like awesome vintage EQ and some like tried and true equalizers in the industry for sure. So we're gonna go tube EQ. We got this guy, and I would advise you to go through the presets, but I'm really not even worrying about what the EQ is doing as much as I'm worrying about this drive and the output model. Okay, so that just gave me some punch. I'm not even messing around with any of these knobs. I'm just going right here to the drive. I want punchy. Usually sounds pretty good on drums. Okay, so we got some tube EQ on there. Let's head to music. And we're just gonna listen to music. Oof. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna go to vintage EQ collection again, but this time we're gonna go to console EQ. There we go. Love it. So we're just trying to do one thing, and I'm telling you that vintage EQ collection does magic on top of these track stacks. So we got our drums and our music. Love it. Okay, so let's go to our vocals now. Vocals, right, we don't want to do too much here. But we're gonna go to our EQ. We're gonna hit that EQ collection. Graphic EQ here. All right, let's go.
Taking me captive.
You go to the smooth option.
Taking me captive.
Okay, let's listen to it.
Taking me captive. Oh, taking me captive.
Love it. Okay, so as long as you're not going too crazy, you're not getting high up in the red and things are sounding just really distorted, just those little things can add up because it trickles down, remember, to all those other tracks that are involved there. So, love it. Look at that, we still got some room. Okay, we're not done yet. We can do a little bit of mini mastering here. This right here where it says stereo out, that is your master bus, also called the 2 bus. This is where everything goes to. everything goes to. So you can think about it being like right here, you know, where you've got 1, 2, 3, but then a fourth volume knob and effects channel to worry about will be this final one, which is where everything routes to, okay? We're gonna go on here and we are not gonna do anything too crazy. We are just gonna go right back through. We're gonna go to our dynamics here. Awesome. We're gonna go to multi-pressor, stereo, and we're gonna go through some presets here. This is an awesome tool to put on your master bus here. So let's see. Some of these final hip hop pop compressors are pretty good. Let's go ahead and, let's start with one of these. Love it. Okay, so I ended up on the 3-band compressor here. And the key thing to not fall for is when you're putting a plugin on, especially when you're messing with everything over the whole mix here, is to not fall for the preset just because it made everything louder. Right? So some of them sounded good maybe, but it's just because things got louder. And when things are louder, our ears naturally attune to it. You gotta make sure that what you're choosing is actually making things better. So that's why I'm constantly using this power on and off button, and I'm constantly adjusting the volume to make sure that with nothing on, I like it, and that with something on, I still like it, and it's enhancing things, okay? So we got a little bit of compression on there. We can do a little bit of EQ if we'd like to. I like to go for the linear phase EQ on the master bus. And goodness, there's just so much, right? So mastering, you could just pick final mix. Let's try here. So it's taking out some mud there for sure. Like that's pretty nice. Love it. Okay, so without all of that additional stuff that we did, right? If we take off our tube EQ, we take off our console EQ, we take off our graphic EQ, and we take off the multipress or linear EQ. After we did our volume adjusting, we went from this
Taking me, taking me, taking me, taking me captive. Oh. Taking me, taking me, taking me, taking me captive. Oh. Taking me, taking me, taking me, taking
to that. Made some pretty awesome improvements there, right? The last thing we can do to add a little bit more mastering juice there on this stereo output is to add some loudness to just make this a little bit louder. So we're gonna go to dynamics here and we're gonna use our adaptive limiter right here. This is the guy you wanna choose. We're putting that at the very end of our chain. This is how we can maximize how loud our track is gonna be. Super useful for trying to dial in stuff for, you know, a certain loudness output for Spotify or streaming service, or we just wanna bump it in your car or something like that. You just don't want it to be so quiet, right? Don't wanna be so quiet. So we're gonna go ahead and use this tool in conjunction with one final thing at the very end here. We're gonna go to metering and we're gonna go to loudness meter. Okay, so we're gonna put both of these guys up side by side so we can see how loud we're getting, okay? So let's start here with our adaptive limiter. I'm gonna go ahead and press play.
me, taking me, taking me, taking me captive. Oh.
So with nothing, with no limiting going on,
Taking me captive. Oh. Taking me, taking me, taking
we're already hovering around 14. We're around 14, which is like awesome for, at least as of now, for Spotify. If we wanna bump it up even more, we just hit this gain button to go up, and we can use this out ceiling to try to make sure that we have a little bit of buffer room so that we're not creeping up right onto zero. You can also use this true peak detection if you want to, where it's kind of analyzing everything.
taking me captive. Oh. Taking me, taking me, taking me, taking me captive. Oh. Taking me, taking
Okay, and while I'm pushing this volume up, I'm listening to make sure my track isn't falling apart. Like I'm listening to the drums, I'm listening to the kick and to the snare and to the vocal, making sure nothing sounds like it's getting super, super squashed.
taking me, taking me, taking me, taking me captive. Oh. Taking me, taking me, taking me, taking me captive. Oh. Taking me, taking me, taking me, taking me captive.
Cool, so all together, we went from, let's close all this out. Close, and I'm not gonna talk in the middle just so you can have a good before and after. You'll see me click everything on, but starting here,
Taking me, taking me, taking me, taking me captive. Oh. Taking me, taking me, taking me, taking me captive. Oh. Taking me, taking me, taking me, taking me captive. Oh.
boom, there it is, friend, right? Now, you can see how you could totally just keep messing around. I hope you hear that come through, and everything in this whole beginner course is to just encourage you to just go for it. Like, mess around. There's so much inside of Logic. You don't want to get too sidetracked, right? And you don't want to be tweaking and doing things too much, but that's how you learn. That's just how you learn. So reach for these tools that I suggested. I'd encourage you to play around with more of them. Fine-tune things, take your song, split it up into these categories: vocals, music, drums. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. If it sounds good, it sounds good. Use some tools like the adaptive limiter if you want to try to get the volume a little louder, but don't go too crazy with what you're doing on each of these tracks, all right? So take a second, divvy things up, add some of this sauce, sprinkle it around. Let's get you to our final step: how to export your song, AKA bounce your song down so that you can have a chance to share it, upload it to streaming services, put it out on YouTube, just do whatever you want with it, right? Because we got to get it out of this Logic project and into a file that you can share pretty easily. So it's pretty straightforward. We're gonna use that age-old looper that we've been using this whole time, right? And you wanna make sure that you start the looper where you want your song to start. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that I'm starting right here where my music is starting, and I'm gonna go all the way to the very end. The next step that I wanna do is make sure that when I press play, that's actually what happens. Awesome, and go to the end. Perfect, right? So you wanna make sure that that's actually gonna happen. That's how it sounds and how you like it to start and end. Then all you're gonna do is press Command B. Boom, and it's gonna bring up the bounce menu, right? This is AKA export your song. Got a couple options. PCM is just WAV. It's gonna be a WAV file. And then you've got MP3, which is gonna be an MP3 file. You can opt to do both at the same time if you'd like to, or uncheck one, just do one that you'd like to. The other key things that you're gonna make sure that you have, right? So if I'm gonna do a WAV file here, you can choose, right, what bit you'd like it to be. You can choose the sample rate. You can choose the file type, dithering, all this stuff. I would just say that you make sure that you have normalize off, because we already did some mastering to it, right? Normalize is it would totally interfere with all the leveling and stuff that we did by putting all of those plugins on our stereo output. So make sure normalize is off. Make sure that the mode, if it's in real time, that means that when you press OK, Logic is going to play your song from start to finish as it's exporting your song. So that just means it'll be however long your song is, in this case, 2 minutes, 50 seconds until I get to see my file. I like to do offline because it's just quick. It's like right away, it bounces it down. You'll see that in just a second. Then it's just a quick OK. We'll just do a quick name. I'll just save it to my desktop really quick. Captive Master 1. Cool. Then you hit bounce. Make sure it's saving to where you'd like it to. And Logic's just gonna bounce it down like this. After you've got your song bounced, you can do whatever you want. Text it to yourself, airdrop it to yourself, email it to yourself. Make sure you at least go for that awesome car test. Make sure it bumps in the car. I mean, you just gotta do that, right? That's nothing to do with Logic, but that's everything to do with your song. That's just a fun victory lap that you get to do, celebrating the progress that you made, coming this far on your song.